Hi guys! So as you can tell, there has been a change of background. I am now actually in front of an actual bookshelf. I'm no longer in the Philippines. I am now in the States. And yeah, so there's going to be a change of scenery for some time. And it's been a while since my last video. I think it's been over a month, but I'm back. And I thought I would do a book haul. This will be my first book haul on my channel, so let's just get into it. I have done a little bit of book buying as of late. They're mainly gifts to myself. I have gotten some money from their graduation slash birthday money, and I've also earned a bit from selling some of my books. So yeah, I've been using a little of that cash to buy me some more books. So yeah, let's get started. So the first book that I have here is The Collected Ghost Stories of M.R. James. Now, in the beginning of the year, I read The Good God Pan and Other Horror Stories by Arthur Machen, and ever since then, I really have been itching to read some more classic horror. So I already read Machen and then Algernon Blackwood, so I decided I'd give M.R. James a go. And I wanted to pick up this edition in particular. I know there's a Penguin English Library, and that is my favorite edition. However, I read The Great God Pan and Other Horror Stories in the Oxford World Classics, and I really liked the way the stories were compiled, or the stories that were chosen to be compiled. And apparently this one is all of his published ghost stories, so it's very comprehensive, so I get the whole, M.R. James scary story treat. So yeah, this is what it looks like. I got this at Barnes & Noble. Made sure I hunted this down because I wanted this edition in particular, but yeah, so we got some more scary stories anthologies. So the next book that I have here is Justine by Lawrence Durrell, and I would be lying if I said that the cover didn't influence my decision on buying it. In fact, it matches my edition of The Bloody Chamber by Angela Carter. It's part of the Penguin Ink series, in which tattoo artists designed the cover and the end flaps. But anyway, I picked up Justine mainly because there's an unofficial project I want to do in which I want to read books that are rated 5 stars from people that I follow either on BookTube or on Goodreads. So Adam from Memento Mori, I'll link his channel down below, rated Justine 5 stars. And the premise, the summary is quite vague. In fact, this book takes place in the Second World War in Alexandria, Egypt, and we're following 4 characters. That's the basic premise that I know of. I don't know, this has quite a cult following. A lot of people really love it, and I heard the prose is excellent, so hopefully this ends up being a favorite as well. So yeah, that's Justine. Now the next book I have here is embarrassing. Well, embarrassing in the sense that the circumstances that led me to buying it are a bit embarrassing, but that is I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid. Now, when I got into Barnes & Noble, and it's been a while since I've been in a Barnes & Noble, I got pretty excited, I got a little hazy, and I got a little, confused, because I confused this book for another one that I put on my TBR a long time ago. The one I thought this was, it was We Should Have Left by Daniel Kelman, I believe, but I mistook this for that book. So I picked up a book not knowing what it was really about or misunderstanding the plot. But when I got home, I read it. I looked up the summary because I found out it wasn't the book that I was thinking it was. And I just found out it was psychological horror. And I was like, okay. I love psychological horror, and I love horror novels that are like short, but can still scare you. And damn, was I right. Dang, I was really right with this one. It was a pleasant surprise. I read this in an entire evening, and I don't usually do that. But for this one, I really spent the entire evening reading this, and I'm not gonna lie, I was unnerved throughout the entire experience. I got chills. And I'm very picky when it comes to my horror. I don't really scare easily, but this one really, really unnerved me. I don't want to give you a premise because a lot of people say, and I do agree, that you kind of should go into this blind. I will just say that you have 2 people, they're taking a drive during a snowy night, That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, I'm Thinking of Ending Things by Iain Reid was fantastic. I already read this one, and yeah, I would highly recommend it. Apparently it's a Netflix film now, but I don't know. I don't think I'll watch it because, you know, looking back at this, it's like, I wonder how the director is able to adapt it. But anyway, really enjoyed the book. Pleasant Horror Surprise. Now this one I was very excited to get a copy here in the States, and that is Mermaid Moon by Susann Cokal. Now, I was expecting that I would have to buy this off of Book Depository, but I was glad to find out that was not the case. I was able to get the last copy at my local Books A Million. So Mermaid Moon happens to be a story about a mermaid named Sana who has a human mother. Her mother was of the land, and on the day of her birth, the witch that delivered her cast a spell to make her father and their entire tribe forget about her mother. Years later, she discovers that her mom was a human, and she decides to apprentice under the witch, and through her learn the art of making and unmaking. And she uses this knowledge to basically fashion herself a pair of legs so that she can go on land and then find her mother. And when she gets there, she comes across a city that is full of people waiting a miracle, a castle that is guarded by like a huge wall of roses, and a baroness that desires immortality. And that premise that really struck my interest. And I'm not gonna lie, yes, the cover did influence me. It is a gorgeous book, and look at these sprayed edges. This isn't a special edition or anything. This is just how the book comes in. I've already begun reading it. It's my current read. I'm this far in. And I don't know, is this YA fantasy? I'm not entirely sure. I feel like it's marketed as YA fantasy, but it definitely doesn't, you know, hit the familiar beats in a YA fantasy, if you know what I mean. But anyway, yeah, so far I'm enjoying it and hoping to finish this pretty soon. Okay, now this book I'm really excited to talk about, and that is The Memory of Babel by Christelle Dabos. This is the third book in a French YA fantasy series that I've become obsessed with. I love this. I know I've only read 3 out of the 4 books, but it's a favorite. I'm not gonna lie, it's a favorite. This was my most anticipated book of the year, and I was so upset when its release date got moved from May to September, but I finally have a copy now. And this is the third installment of the Mirror Visitor Quartet, or the Mirror Visitor Saga. Now, I can't explain the premise or the synopsis of this book because it would spoil the first 2 books. Actually, I'll pull them out here because I have them. We have the first book, A Winter's Promise, and then the second book, The Missing of Claire de Lune. Yeah, this is going to be a part shout out to this series because I love it and more people need to read it. So anyway, the premise of the Mirror Visitor Saga is that there was an event called the Rupture that shattered the Earth, that left large chunks of landmass floating in space. And each landmass is called an arc. And on each arc, there's someone called a family spirit. They're not technically spirits, but they predate the rupture, and they possess certain powers. So each family spirit has a certain power, and all the people living on that arc are more or less the descendants of that one family spirit. So in the beginning of the Mirror Visitor Saga, we're following a girl named Ophelia, who is from the Ark of Anima, and the family spirit of Anima is Artemis. And her descendants have the ability to control objects or animate objects. And Ophelia in particular is a reader. She can read objects, or like the history of objects, the history of people who have interacted with said object. But she's also a mirror visitor, so she can travel between mirrors that she has come in contact with. And the whole plot of the series kind of kicks off when she gets unexpectedly engaged to a man called Thorn from another arc called the Pole. And when she is taken to the Pole for engagement, she's kind of dragged into the court life, like all the inner corrupt politics in it. And then, as you know, the series goes on, a much larger plot is brewing, like to mythic proportions. And I just love it. I absolutely love it. And The Memory of Babel was an excellent addition to the entire series. And now I'm waiting in limbo for the 4th book, which is, I believe, going to be called The Tempest of Echoes. So I'm just waiting for it so much. But yeah, I love this. I already read it. I actually read the first 2 books in preparation for the 3rd one. So yes, highly, highly recommend this series. I love this book. I won't say anything except 56. And if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, please read this series. I'm begging you. So yeah, love it, love it. One of my favorite YA series for sure. Lastly, we come to what is possibly the most, no, it's not possibly, it is the most beautiful book in this entire haul, and that is the Folio Society edition of Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. First of all, look at this slip. The back, and then here, I'll show you. This one's a bit easier. Like it looked tough when I was taking out the book, but it's much easier than Rebecca. But anyway, here it is. Look at this beautiful book. I love the blush color. I love the blue-gray tone of the castle. It's a gorgeous book. If you've been following me on Instagram, you may have known that last year I read Howl's Moving Castle for the first time, and it was a favorite of mine. Of not only that year, but it's a favorite book in general. I fell in love with it. And when I found out that Folio Society was releasing, an edition of it, I was like, I need it. So I got it as a birthday gift, and it's stunning. If you haven't read Howl's Moving Castle, I highly recommend that you do so. It's very interesting because if you watch the Studio Ghibli movie, it's quite different. Hayao Miyazaki really took a lot of liberties with his adaptation. So it's like kind of reading almost 2 different stories, considering how different they are. But yeah, this is a gorgeous, gorgeous edition. And I've been wanting it for quite a while, not gonna lie. So yeah, there's more. So yeah, it's gorgeous. I will definitely be reading out of this one if I'm gonna do a Howl's Moving Castle reread. But yeah, I adore this, and it's one of the most beautiful books in my collection. Like any Folio Society book I end up adding to my collection, it will just be, one of the most beautiful books in my collection. So yeah, that's that. And those are all the books that I bought so far. And thanks for stopping by once again. I know I've been a bit MIA, and with the change of scenery and everything, but thanks again for clicking on my video, and see you guys later. Bye!